We're all trying to get ahead in life, right? We want to be successful, have better relationships, you name it. But what if I told you the single biggest thing holding you back is actually you? Today, we're going to break down this idea that our own ego is our greatest enemy. Okay, let's just dive right in with a little scenario. Imagine this. You're caught doing something you shouldn't. Nothing major. Maybe you're walking your dog off leash in a park where there's a sign. An officer starts walking towards you. What is that first gut reaction you feel? For most of us, it's to immediately get defensive. Yeah, our instinct is to protect our ego, right? To explain ourselves, to justify our actions, to win the argument. But here's the thing. What if the truly strategic move is to forget about winning the argument and instead focus completely on winning the result? Well, this exact thing happened to the author Dale Carnegie. He's in the park with his dog, Rex, no leash, and a police officer spots him. But before the cop can even open his mouth, Carnegie does something brilliant. He rushes up and essentially prosecutes himself, saying, "Officer, you've got me. I'm guilty. I know the rule. I broke it. No excuses." He just completely took the wind out of the officer's sail. And this right here is the whole point. Carnegie let his intelligence take the wheel instead of his ego. And what was the result he wanted? To not get a ticket. And he didn't. The officer, with no fight to be had, actually became friendly. So see, Carnegie lost the argument on purpose, but he absolutely won the situation. That urge to win the argument, to be right, well, it comes from a really deep place inside us. And that leads us straight into our first big ego trap, this deep, primal hunger we all have to feel important, and more than anything, to be heard. Now look, this isn't a knock on people, it's how we're wired. We all have this fundamental need to feel like we matter. And while that drive can be a good thing, it also creates this massive blind spot in how we deal with each other. And here's what that trap looks like in real life. Our own ego makes us absolutely terrible listeners. We're in a conversation, but are we really listening? Or are we just waiting for them to take a breath so we can jump in with our brilliant point? We're so busy planning our next move that we miss everything. We trade real connection and influence just for a fleeting chance to talk. Now, this need to be the smartest person in the room, well, it can get really, really dangerous when it comes to your job. It can turn your ego from a simple blind spot into a serious career killer. Your ego is screaming at you, "Show your boss how smart you are, prove your worth." But here's the crazy counterintuitive truth. All that showing off doesn't impress them. It just makes them insecure. Nobody in a position of power wants to feel threatened or made to look dumb by someone who works for them. So what's the truly smart play here? You gotta check that ego. Absolutely bring your amazing ideas to the table, but frame them in a way that makes your boss look good. Let them share in the credit. You're not sucking up, you're playing the long game. You gain a powerful ally, and you quietly, strategically clear the path for your own advancement. All right, on to our third ego trap. And this one is sneaky. It's so common, and it might just be the single biggest killer of personal growth there is. What are the 3 most dangerous words in the English language? Right here. I know that. Think about it. The second those words come out of your mouth, or even just pop into your head, your brain just slams the door shut. It's the ego's ultimate defense mechanism against having to learn something new. And why are they so dangerous? Because when you think you already know everything, you stop being curious. You stop asking questions. You basically put a ceiling on your own potential. You literally cannot grow. And this really gets to the core difference between 2 ways of thinking. The poor mindset, which is totally driven by ego, has to pretend it knows everything to protect its proud. But a rich mindset, it's obsessed with learning. It's always hungry, always assuming there's more to discover. Because at the end of the day, thinking you know that is just a recipe for staying exactly where you are. It's a guarantee that nothing is ever going to change. If you want new results, you have to be open to new information, period. So our ego messes with our conversations, our careers, our ability to learn, and you better believe it messes with our money. Let's talk about the emotional rat race and how ego is the little guy keeping that wheel spinning. This is the classic rat race, right? It's this endless loop that's not driven by logic, but by 2 raw emotions. First, the fear of not having enough money gets you out of bed and to work. Then you get that paycheck and greed kicks in. That's just your ego wanting a nicer car, a bigger house, more stuff to show off. So you work harder to get more, and the cycle just keeps on going.
So how do you get out? You have to get brutally honest with yourself. You have to have the humility to admit that, yeah, maybe fear and greed are driving your decisions. Your ego will fight you on this. It wants to believe you're a rational supercomputer. But real financial freedom, it starts the second you can tell your ego to take a back seat and admit what's really going on.
Okay, so we've seen ego trap us in arguments, at work, in our own heads, and with our money. So what in the world do we do about it? Well, the answer isn't some complex life hack. It's a really simple but powerful shift in perspective. Let's stop thinking about the ego as this big, evil monster we have to slay. Instead, just think of it as a tool, a very powerful and very tricky magnifying glass that completely distorts how you see reality. Just think about how it works. When you have a success, you hold that magnifying glass over it. Suddenly, that win looks enormous. It makes you feel like a genius, like you're invincible. And that feels great. But it also makes you completely blind to the very real challenges and dangers that are still right there in front of you. But then you make a mistake, and you hold that same magnifying glass over your flaw. Now, that little slip up becomes this huge, raging inferno that just torches your confidence and paralyzes you with shame. The glass distorts both ways, and both are incredibly dangerous. So, if this tool does nothing but warp reality, making the good seem too good and the bad seem way too bad, what's the goal? What are we supposed to do with it? The goal isn't to get better at using the glass. The goal is to just put it down, to try as best you can to see yourself and the world clearly without the distortion. To remember that you are not your greatest success and you are not your worst failure. You're just you. And you are and always will be a work in progress with endless room left to grow.